But I'm not going to tell you about that. I'm going to hand you over to Dimitrios Tsagalas, who can tell us a little bit more about it. Dimitrios, welcome to the programme.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Not at all. It's nice to have you along. Now, tell us a little bit about Europe Direct. What's it all about?
Well, basically, Europe Direct, in very simple words, is actually a line addressed to European citizens, where all of us, we have any questions that we might have regarding Europe and our rights and our obligations, sure why not, or the policies of the EU and all that. We can actually, there are people who are actually, we can ask these questions, we can address these questions to the people of Europe Direct.
Right, so if, for instance, I want to know how I can get funding for a project, whatever, I can come to Europe Direct, and even if you don't know the answer, you'll know where to go to find it, yeah?
I will either transfer you, well, actually, I will try and search the information as to give you the information as directly as possible.
Right, yeah.
Or if it's a more complicated question, then I would address it to Brussels, where there will be a specialist from a certain Directorate General. He or she will actually reply to.
They'll come back and tell you exactly what the situation is. What sort of training do you need for this, Dimitri? How long did it take you to get into this? Because it's a very complicated matter, Europe, isn't it? I mean, when you start thinking about Europe, I get a headache because there are so many different sections and places and departments and Directorate Generals and things like that.
What happens is actually you need to have a basic. Well, you start with a basic point. You have a basic knowledge of what is Europe and how the EU institutions operate and such, and so on and so on. And then as you go along, you learn more and more and more about Europe. It's one of those jobs that you actually learn every single day.
Yeah, because you're being asked a question that you don't know the answer to, and once you've made your inquiries, then the next time somebody answers that question, you can come up with the answer.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
You're doing research. Well, yeah.
So how many of you work in the Nicosia office, for instance?
Well, there's actually two people.
Right.
Myself and a secretary.
Right.
But we have also 4 relay officers. Well, there are other 3 relay officers, 1 officer per city.
Right.
Because as you previously mentioned, there's also 1 in each bigger cities in Limassol, Paphos and Larnaca. So there's 1 officer for each relay.
Right. Can you ring somebody in Paphos, for instance? Hey, listen, I've just had this question I don't know the answer to. Do you know it? And he'll be able to say, oh yes, I had that last week. Yeah.
We have very close collaboration between us, and we actually share views and ask things simply because we deal more or less with the same questions.
Right.
So in other words, we just try to collaborate as to give a more efficient answer to the citizens.
Yeah. So what would you say most people are interested in knowing about? Is it money, I suppose?
Exactly. Is actually the hot potato.
Yeah.
Where
do I get money from?
Oh yeah, funding. EU funding. When I heard you mentioning it, I was like, yes, exactly. That's the point.
That's it.
That's the nitty gritty.
Right. Yeah.
They want to know living in another country, in another member state, because this year we run this job mobility year.
Oh, right, yes.
And about freedom of movement and job prospects and all that, employment. And this is the big question now. I want to, let's say, I want to go to another country, work in another country. How do I get there? What is the circumstances there? And the good thing with Europe Direct is that there are actually almost 700 relays all over Europe. So that gives a more flexibility to a big network.
Right.
There's a big network now. We're talking about 700 people, relays, who are able to give information.
To help. Yeah. So if somebody says, "Listen, I've got a boyfriend in Cologne, and I want to be a Greek-German interpreter. What are my chances of being able to do that? Can they do that? Could they say so? Could she come to you and you say yes? I mean, yeah.
There's also I will actually tell this person to search on the EURES portal, which is actually a portal of the European Union, which has 850,000 jobs.
Wow.
And they're running for 1 million. They're going for 1 million.
Yeah.
So you can find everything over there, like from cleaners to head of units and so on and so on.
So any sort of job that you want to do anywhere in Europe, there's something there. Now of course, I suppose language is the big thing. Really, you've got to have some language
Not
ability.
necessarily, depending, of course, on the job itself.
So if somebody speaks English, I suppose there are quite wide horizons
of course.
For jobs in Europe,
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. Have you actually found anybody a job in Europe yet? Did anybody ever come back to you and say, I've got a job, or I've done what I asked you about?
Yes, but apparently this person actually had to think it twice before going again for the language, because he found a job somewhere in Hungary, and well, this job, although quite tempting, he needed very good knowledge of Hungarian.
Right.
And you don't really know.
No, it's not that many people who've got that
exactly.
in Cyprus, rather. English, Greek, whatever, but not Hungarian. And I suppose there's always the possibility of doing a crash course in it.
Exactly.
Where does the money come from? We talked about funding.
Right. We receive money, of course, simply because we are a service of the European Commission. We receive money from the European Commission.
Right.
And the Press and Information Office of the Republic of Cyprus co-finances. Actually, they give the same amount of money as the European Commission for all the relays.
Right. So that's where the cash comes from.
Exactly.
Now, what happens? Do you have to sort of go for funding yourself every year, or would it just be renewed, or are the decisions made in?
There's this framework agreement that has been signed which is for 4 years between the local Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the European Commission.
Right.
This will run for 4 years, and each year we renew our grants. We get grants for each year.
Right.
After we submit our own activity report, and if Brussels actually approved it, then the money comes in.
Yeah. So
in a very simple way.
You just got to keep your fingers crossed they approve it. Now, just one question: how many people do you get making inquiries a day? Do you get a lot of people, or does it vary from day to day?
Well, it varies.
What's in the news.
Depending on what's in the news, depending on what's the season as well. Because I mean, you won't get as many questions as in winter. Or you get many questions in winter than in summer, because most of the people are actually on the beach and enjoy themselves and so on.
Exactly.
So basically, people do frequently call.
Yeah. What about we're talking about people from Cyprus looking for jobs in Germany, Hungary, or whatever. Do you get a lot of people looking for jobs in Cyprus? Because I know that it must be a very attractive place, especially as this time of year comes up with the summer. As you say, the beaches and things like that. Do you get queries from, I don't know, Belgium and Germany? We got somebody here who wants to work in a bar. What are the chances? Do you get queries like that?
Not as many. Not many. Simply because there are other Europe Directs. So if this person wants to go to work in a bar, you can actually bring his or her local Europe Direct.
And he'll put him in touch with EURES.
With EURES, or if they think my colleague from the other Europe Direct Relay will contact me or somebody else from in here, from the offices here, and we'll be able to sort this person out.
Are you a fan of Europe? I mean, does this make you feel sort of closer to Europe, this job?
Yes, I'm pro-European, to be honest with you.
Good. Because we were talking before, I used to be very Eurosceptical, but I must say now these days I'm coming around to it more and more, and wondering whether the British attitude that I used to have is perhaps not quite right.
Exactly.
So is it part of your job to sell it as well to people, to tell people what a good thing it is?
Well, yeah, we're just trying to show what are your benefits, because we usually say that Brussels is a big thing, like a big bureaucratic machine, let's say, but this is not the case. We're just trying to bring Europe closer to the citizen, especially after what has happened with the Constitution, the European Constitution, and the no votes from the Netherlands and France. Yeah. And the European Commission actually has set up a new plan called Plan D, where Europe Direct is playing a very active role in creating debate and working on the same project. and bring Europe closer to its citizens.
So that people actually realise that this constitution, or whatever form it takes, isn't something to be afraid of. It's something that will actually benefit.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So, Dimitri, how do people find you? What do they do?
Well, they can use all methods of communication.
Right.
They can call us. We have on a local level, we have our own phone numbers. For you, Nicosia, just to mention, the Nicosia is 22 88 98 98.
Right. And there are a few. I've actually got a list of them here.
You've got the list.
Yes.
Okay,
So
brilliant.
what I'll do once we finish, and I'll play a record, I'll give people the numbers and everything to let them
email us, send us a fax, anything. Also, or even come over in our relay.
Yeah. So just drop in. Where is your office, by the way?
The Nicosia office is at the building of Cyprus Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but as for the other relays, you can find them on the local Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Right. So this is Kevert, is it?
Kevert, yes.
On the main avenue.
Yes.
Near what we call the Dem-style traffic lights.
Well,
just down from there.
Honda traffic lights.
The Honda traffic lights.
Exactly.
Okay, well, Dimitri, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed.
The best of luck with your project, and please, if anything does happen that you think our listeners need to know about, give us a ring and we'll put you on there again. Dimitri, thanks very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.